Hello and a huge Sim Night Racing welcome. My name is Tom Allen and I'm joined today by Harry Witter. And you are joining us in the deluge that is the Hungaroring for a big double header in Hungary. Season 1, Race 4. A big result in qualifying for you, Harry, as you stuck it on pole. How do we line up for the rest of the grid today?
Yeah, thanks Tom. A few familiar faces in the top 5 this week with Maracas in P2, Mark in P3, Tino taking up P4 and Craig Hill in P5.
So race 4 about to kick off then. I don't need to explain to you about the conditions. Look at that rain coming down. I think it's going to be absolutely key to get up at the front of the field, but we'll see how the midfield interacts with the first corner and whether they get their braking zones right. Harry, how did this feel up at the top of the field for turn 1?
Very clear, Tom. Just completely out the spray. That's the goal, I think, in a wet race. Just get yourself out the front and just drive away from the pack. Use the lack of spray as an advantage, and that's exactly what I was trying to do.
So there was a phenomenal amount of spray in the mid-pack, Harry. It was absolutely impossible to see. You had to weave either side just to make sure you could see a braking point on the side of the track. And speaking of weaving either side, look at this from Andy Cleaver. Oh, miracle reactions as he nearly drove into the back of the car at 130 miles an hour.
One of those terribly unique circumstances it's only for sim racing where Brandon's wheel disconnected, I do believe, and everything just died on him.
So unfortunate that he was driving a black car as well. Absolutely disappears in the spray. But here we go. There's a move here into turn 4 on the outside.
Yeah, Mark gets himself around the outside, realises he's made the pass off the track and actually hands it back to Tino. Fantastic sportsmanship from Mark there. I think you nearly got caught out a little bit by Mark being polite. I think you were going to nip through there as well, weren't you?
I was hoping to follow Mark through on the inside, but he was being very gentlemanly indeed, and I left myself nowhere to go.
Indeed. This is Andreas, not the first and not the last to miss that braking zone on turn 1. Speaking of that, actually, I think Harry Cleaver's about to do exactly the same here on lap 6. And I do believe that hands a position to his dad, which must be very embarrassing for Lal Harry.
And Harry was straight back into the thick of the action as he rejoins the track here, but just a lap or so later, as he was battling with Andrew Dugdale, and you can see Harry just playing it nice and conservative, trying to get a feel back in for the track, just a bit of oversteer as he goes into turn 5, runs a little bit wide, and Andrew nips up the inside. Opportunistic move, just a little bit of a love tap on the outside, and through he goes.
Yeah, not too much contact, keen enough. Oh, I can talk about this bit, Tom. I had Maracas on my rear bumper for the entire 10 laps. He was no more than 7/10 away from me. And I'll tell you, when he touched that curb, it's the easiest mistake to do. It was the first time I took a breath in the entire race, I think.
You must have felt like Maracas was a tattoo on the back of your car at that point, but a very unlucky mistake here. One I made a few times in practice. Very, very easy to do. But Harry, consistency, walking on water today. The BMW was in a class of its own in the hands of yours truly. So you had a brilliant race, stayed out of the spray, and took the checkered flag to win race 1. How did you feel?
Well, Tom, it felt fantastic. I just wanted a clean race. That's exactly what I got. Mark finished in P2, Maracas recovered from that spin to P3, Craig Hill in P4, and our very own Mark Bayliss coming up the field into P5. So the result of race 1 put Brandon Sweeney on to pole position for the reverse grid race 2. Let's have a look at the start.
Great opportunity for some of those who were in the spray and in the mire in race 1 just to get a bit of clear air going into turn 1 of race 2, and possibly a good opportunity to hold the cars behind back. So let's have a look how we get on into turn 1. Very difficult to pick your braking point again. Let's see how we do.
Oh, well, you're saying that, Tom. We had a big old incident there with quite a few cars involved. Valtteri Bottas flanker, getting it just very slightly wrong on the brakes and just creates a huge ripple effect through the field.
Very unfortunate for Chris, just like we were saying. So difficult to see your braking points, and probably shown there by Mark as well, going into the black car.
Cheers Maracas making a couple of places up on lap 1, just making hay while the sun shines, trying to avoid the carnage and take benefit at this early stage of the race.
Takes a lot of bottle to get a move done around turn 4, and doubly so in the wet. Speaking of which, Harry, you giving as good as you get here on the final bend, sticking tight to the inside and getting the drag away from Andrew.
Yeah, I was trying to chase Maracas. He was the guy with the pace, I think, in lap 2. Talking of guys with pace, here's Matchy, who's going to make a bit of an error here, which misses his braking marker by a country mile, it looks.
Oof. I'll tell you what, straight to the scene of the accident. There's no stopping once you've locked up.
Indeed, he'll have to cover his eyes before watching this highlight video on that one. I think that's a bit of a shocker for old Matchy there.
So in race 1, I'd spend an awful lot of time behind Mr. Bayliss, actually, Sim Night Racing's very own. And I'll be honest, I was getting a bit sick and tired of the sight of his rear wing when I could very occasionally see it through the spray. So we're going to see Mark here just drifting into turn 5, and he's taking a bit of avoiding action. You see the closing speed there as Mark just misses his braking point. I nearly followed him off to the scene of the accident as well, losing a space, but too easily done.
Indeed, we're now going to witness another bit of Sim Night Racing on Sim Night Racing action, where Mark's going to... He had a little bit of a slidey moment going into the chicane there, and I just get a much better drive cutting through and just stick him out on the outside.
Very savvy from Mark not to fight that, just to keep his momentum going and try and get back on track.
Here's a nice little battle with Maracas and Tom here. Maracas managed to get the move done, but he's going to just get on the AstroTurf a little bit on the exit of the last corner there, and Tom's just going to carry the momentum through onto the straight, and the move's done even before the braking zone, really.
Yeah, really unlucky for Maracas. AstroTurf and the rain just don't mix, and the key was for me here just to make sure I could hit the braking point and stay nice and tight to the inside, and actually managed to pick another place up on the way through.
Indeed, yeah, I think it was Brandon there, got a little bit wide. Oh, and Harry Cleaver went off as well, so that's a couple more spaces for you, Tom. Flying forwards.
Nosebleed at the front of the field for me here.
Yeah, there's a little incident coming out of that turn there where Brandon just taps the back of Harry Cleaver's rear bumper and sends him into a spin. Bit of an unfortunate incident there, really.
So look at this weather. The rain is absolutely torrential. The conditions were incredibly difficult for the drivers, and Brandon actually showcasing this as we speak. Just running slightly wide there, allowing Harry to nip up the inside. He's going to be on the defensive now going into the left-hander. And, I think he's overcooked it, actually, and Mark might just slip down the inside here.
I think Brandon might have just made the classic mistake where you make one mistake and then your brain tries to overcompensate into the next corner. He ended up going deep there as well, and Mark was very keen to jump on the opportunity. And now we see the time where Tom Allen's race absolutely disintegrated. That was a track limit drive-through, was it, Tom? Just pushing the limits a little bit too far, trying to keep Maracas behind. I know exactly how it felt because I was doing the same in race 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Big lift as we came out the corner, but still pinned for track limits, and rightly so, given a penalty. Ruined my race.
And we bounce from one Sim Night Racing steward falling apart to the next one, where Bayliss just gets a little bit on the curb there and just has a bit of a clumsy spin. No harm done, no car damage, but yeah, not the best. Oh, and this is a wonderful bit of racing from you, Tom. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, thanks, Harry. It was good from young Harry Cleaver as well. I was setting up for a few corners before here, just making sure if he took the outside line, I would take the inside. I was trying to get really up in his mirrors to irritate him and just push him into braking a little bit late, a little bit early, just to get up the inside. And unfortunately for young Harry, just caught a little bit of lock on the way to the corner and managed to pull off the move.
Yeah, good move, well done. This is another little error. I think Jay just gets onto the greasy stuff and just loses the back end. That's Lambo's such a difficult car to drive in the wet. I'm surprised that we didn't see an awful lot more of those crashes. Loses another place to Maracas as well, and I do believe it puts me right on his tail as well.
There's definitely a point of no return when the pendulum effect takes over and the Lambo just steering straight into the wall there. Very unlucky.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of unlucky, this is such a... it's a horrible little accident behind blue flags for Tino, who was the race leader. I don't think there was anything that could have been done differently from each side. It's just unfortunate with the visibility and a bit of odd car positioning.
The rain causes mistakes, and very unfortunate for everyone involved there. No intent, no malice, and just unfortunate to see.
Yeah, absolutely. This is me. Jay really started making mistakes. I was reeling him in. I was trying to get up onto the podium, and Jay just went a little bit wide there. So repeat of the move I tried on Mark earlier. I just stuck it up the inside. However, Mark backed out of it and Jay didn't, and fair play to him, he had no reason to, but that put me on the grass, sadly.
And we go into the final lap, and your nemesis from race 1, Harry, Maracas, pulls off a beautiful victory once again, walking on water, the Rainmeister you might say, as he comes over the line, very, very closely followed to pull off what is a sensational victory.
Absolutely, and he stole the fastest lap of the event away from me at the very death as well, which I'm not sad about at all. It's all good. So that put Maracas in P1, Lord Lambert P2, Jay Brooker P3, Tino in P4 after that little accident, and Graham Potter recovering to P5. So let's have a look at how the championship looks after those two races. Me in P1, Craig Hill in P2, Jay Brooker P3, Mark in P4, and Tino Cupera in P5. All very close and all taking some really good results from those two races. Now over to Tom for the awards for the race.
Thank you, Harry, and a good bunch of awards today. We have our fastest recovery driver in Chris Flanker, who managed to recover an awful lot of positions from the back of the grid after the unfortunate incident in race 2. And Andy Cleaver, who we saw dodging some very slow-moving cars in the first round, managed to get the last 5-lap award for most overtakes done at the end of the race. Unsurprisingly, Maracas pulls off the fastest lap award, and as Harry mentioned earlier, was a 100th of a second faster than our very own Mr. Witter. The most consistent driver of the day, and actually, as he has been in a few races so far, is Mr. Craig Hill, who had a fantastic day in terms of pace and consistency. Our driver of the day was the Lord himself, Lord Lambert, who managed some great racing over both races. And the fastest lap that never was award again goes to Craig, who made a mistake on his quickest lap, but still managed an incredibly quick time. And a special award for today, and I think very well justified, the Michael Schumacher Rainmeister Award goes to Maracas in both races. Even though he made a tiny mistake in race 1, still managed to come home with great results for the championship for himself.
So from Tom Allen and me, Harry Witter, thank you very much for joining us all at Sim Night Racing, and we'll see you next week for Silverstone.